Got my eyes straight ahead, got my head in the game. With the red light on, I'm just waiting for the change. Keep my head down low.
Okay, so I've done an episode just a couple of weeks ago about immigration levels. I think we have all these reports coming across about the housing crisis, and the government's looking into how they can help solve the housing crisis. Uh, and I did point out, well, maybe if you weren't allowing 700,000 new migrants into the country, we wouldn't have a housing crisis. And not that I'm against migrants coming here, people coming here to live. I get it. It's a great country. Y'all want to come here, but whatever. It's you need to control those borders. And I feel like the government, the Australian government, Labor, it doesn't really matter whether it's Liberal or Labor, to be honest. I think they've both sold us down the river when it's come to immigration. But I was looking at the story that happened over the last couple of days, and that's to do with these neo-Nazis. Sky News reporting, neo-Nazi movement stand for a white nationalist Australia. Deakin University Associate Professor Dr. Josh Roos says the neo-Nazi protesters stand for this white nationalist Australia. Roos told Sky News that they are extremely anti-Semitic, which is not good, but they are anti-people of colour and talk openly about mass deportations. Most of these views in a modern Australia are highly contentious and basically rejected by the vast majority of Australians. I think this is a result of a much bigger issue. And I think the government should really be accepting the blame for this. They have, it's the same thing as what happened in America. America have just, obviously, they've got land borders. So they've just opened up that bottom border in the south around Texas there. And yep, just come what may. Everyone's just walking past. You see footage of people literally just walking into the country. People getting processed, the country, areas in that country having to give up hotels for new immigrants, bypassing all of the legal standards that have been put in place if you wanted to enter that country. Yeah, just come across, and then it's causing so much friction, causes friction with people who over the years have done things the right way, have done things the legal way, gone through the processes, causes friction for people who are living there, looking to buy their house, looking to work, trying to survive, and yet they see people coming into the land illegally while they're struggling, and then these people who are illegally in the country being helped by the government who they are paying taxes to. We're seeing the same thing in Australia. Okay, we haven't got people just walking in, even though a lot of our illegal immigrants, people talk about the boats. A vast majority of illegal immigrants are people who come here by plane. Basically, they just fly in and they just don't leave. They just overstay their visas. That's the vast majority of it. But we make a big deal over the boat, the people that arrive via boat, because it's better news. It's better footage, see these people on this rickety little boat getting intercepted by the Border Force, Australian Navy, and whatever. And it gives you something to look at. Whereas the vast majority of people who are actually here illegally come via plane, fly in for a nice little holiday, and oh, yeah, we're just not going to leave. And we don't have the resources. But getting back to this white nationalist Australia movement, neo-Nazis, and their biggest problem is they're openly talking about mass deportations. I think this all comes back when you've got a government that just basically allows open borders. We see regular Aussies, whatever color, doesn't matter whether you're a new migrant, whether you've been here for a couple of years, been here for generations. We see Australians who've been here now struggling to find a place to live, now struggling to find a place to rent, to buy. Forget about if you want to buy, mate. You need a ton of money, ton of money. But let's look at let's look at some of these other stories just to support so you can see what I'm talking about. So this came down in Forbes, and this was towards the end of last year. It's funny because it's talking about how Australian property compares to the rest of the world and fixing the housing crisis. Fundamentally, the only way to make housing more affordable is to build more of it where people want to live. This is a red hot lie. This is this is crap, to be put it bluntly. Arguably, we've been doing enough of that. Sorry, we haven't been doing enough of that. That's part of why housing is expensive in some parts of Australia. The federal government has outlined plans to tackle the issue. See, they keep outlining these plans. It's a pretty easy way to go about fixing the problem. Stem the tide of new migrants coming in. Tackle the issue through the housing accord signed between federal and state governments last year, which aims to construct 1 million new homes over 5 years. 1 million new homes. It is also aiming to build 30,000 new social and affordable rental homes over 5 years by establishing a $10 billion Housing Australia Future Fund. In Victoria, former Premier Dan Andrews is also focused on housing, announcing a plan to deliver 800,000 homes over the next decade, including social housing for low-income families. It goes over all these things, government first home got buyer grants and this kind of things. But it also says our population growth has recently accelerated since the early 2000s, but our rate of home building didn't keep up. Australian population has jumped more than 30% over the last 2 decades to the current 26 million. I believe it actually just reached 27 million just the other day, I'd heard. A big reason for this has been a much higher net immigration rate since the mid-2000s, which has fueled demand for new homes. So here they're saying, we need to build more homes, and we've got 1 million in the pipeline over, 5 years? And yet, as I said, 2022-23 report here from the ABC. Let me see. Here it came up. Australian migrant population growth hits all-time high as border reopens. This is what I talked about. This was in April of last year. It said Australian migration population is expected to have grown by more than 700,000 between the 2022 and 2024 financial years. So just that time period, it's going to grow by 700,000. Just migration, migrant population. That's all it is. And yet the government, I've said, they're gaslighting us, saying, hey, we're looking into this. We've got all these plans in place. Oh, look, we'll build 1 million homes over a 5-year period. But in the meantime, over a 2-year period, we'll allow 700,000 new migrants in. And then forget about all the people who are, turning adulthood, going into adulthood, who need housing. They're gaslighting us, and then they wonder why. Actually, I don't think they wonder why. They wonder why they have headlines and vision of these supposed neo-Nazis walking the street, openly talking about being anti people of color and openly talking about mass deportations. This is a problem that the Australian government has caused. They have caused it. People get disenchanted with government policy, disenfranchised with the country that they live in, that they were born in, disenchanted with the way things are run. They don't feel connected to the land and the people because they see that they are being sold out by the very government who are voted in, and they're not supporting the people who are already here. You can't sit there and say, hey, we're going to build all these houses, but it's not going to fix the problem because we're going to allow all these new people in. And why do they allow all these new people in? Because they make money out of these people coming in. Because when these people come in and they buy and push house prices up, government's getting, all their taxes out of this. They don't want house prices to go down or be stagnant because federal and state, make so much tax money out of it. Land tax, stamp duties, if the rates, all the tax that goes into buying a house. So they want a continual supply shortage of housing, because that will continue to allow house prices up. So they continue to allow new migrants in. You notice that they're not letting people, all these poor people in. We stop the boats, and we stop people who are coming in who may be, desperate to come in, but we allow all these rich people to come in because they've got the money to pay for housing, and they'll keep pushing house prices up. They'll keep inflation going. They'll keep making money for the government. And then we have neo-Nazis walking the street, which I do not support, obviously, because they're not going to like me one iota. But this is what you have when you have a government that is gaslighting the population, not supporting the population, not supporting the people who are already here, whether you're black, white, or brindle. They don't care about Australians in general. They just care about money coming into the country. They don't want the property prices to go stagnant. It's all built on a Ponzi scheme anyway, and they don't want people to see that. And then they turn around and say, well, we don't understand why people have these nationalistic points of view anymore. We don't see why. We don't understand why. Who can explain why we've got sudden rise in neo-Nazis across the nation of Australia? Because these people are disenchanted with the way the nation's being run. They know when they're being sold down the river by their own government. I don't support their actions, but you can see, if you don't support the people who are already here, and if you don't help them, if you don't make them feel supported, well, people are going to turn on you. Albanese got booed at the tennis the other day, and it was big news on ABC radio for all the day. They were talking about it. I mean, it's a bit of a pastime with politicians. You're a politician and you go to a sporting event, you're going to get booed. But what do you think is going to happen? You don't support your general, everyday Aussies who are here paying their taxes, but you welcome a flood of new immigrants in, which you made the decision to allow in, and then you put your hands up and say, well, I don't know why we've got a housing crisis. I don't know why house prices just keep rising, and it's so expensive to buy houses and rentals. Forget rentals. $700, $800 a week to just live in an average home is not affordable. These are problems that the government has created. And then you have neo-Nazis walking the street, and they say, oh, we better make new regulations, new laws coming in. Can't gather together. You can't make, those kind of hand gestures that obviously they make. Got to make all these things illegal. When you push people to the side, and I don't say it's right what they're doing and the way they're behaving, but there's a reason why. Cause and effect. That's just my opinion. Please let me know what you think. Obviously, I think generally the people who listen to this podcast are going to be, anti-neo-Nazis, but surely we can see that you don't have to agree with me on everything. I just think if people were more supported by this government and they weren't being gaslighted by this government, we wouldn't see the rise of this neo-Nazi movement. And at the end of the day, the world needs Jesus. But hey, you can only keep telling people this. This is all just my opinion. Thanks for listening to The Slippery Slope. Please let me know what you think.
They just fuel a desire that will take me higher. I'm on fire because nothing's gonna bring me down. Nothing's gonna bring me down. Nothing's gonna stop me now. No more deals to be done. Nothing's gonna just focus on the goal. Nothing's gonna stop me now. gonna say